Soil School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by the Ontario Soil Network and the Mosaic Company.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin. Welcome to Soil School. Today I'm up in beautiful Bruce County hanging out with Adam Ireland. Adam, how's it going?
Very well, Bernard. And yourself?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for the invitation. We are here to talk to Adam about soil health and how he manages his farm and the soil on this farm and some of the practices that he's employed over the years. Adam, before we get there, give us a snapshot of the operation.
Well, thanks, Bernard. So the operation, Albadon Progressive Ag, that's the company that is our cropping business. My family has been in the dairy for generations. That would be Albadon Farms Limited. We kept the name similar. Looking back on it, that was maybe a mistake when we start working with suppliers. The name's a little too close. But we have a lot of heritage in the dairy industry. My business, being the cropping side of the business, supports the dairy very well, and there's a lot of synergies there. My brother Josh runs the dairy. My father Mark, still very much involved, and he was one that really built the dairy farm up to what it is today.
Let's talk about the cropping operation and soil health. Give us a snapshot of the operation and, hey, maybe the soils and the land that you're farming.
Okay, so here where we're standing right now would be the flattest piece of ground that we have. It is, this ground is very, very flat. Most of what we've got is rolling hills in Culross Township, a lot of gravel knolls, and a little bit of clay here and there. Of course, when I say clay, there'll be people in the province that will just shake their head at me, because what we call clay really isn't anything like what some people have to deal with. But there's different soil types. A lot of it is a Hairston loam, really nice soil to grow with, but we are quite variable.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about soil health and practices. I know your father started no-tilling back in the 90s, 30 years ago, and it's something that you guys have sort of carried on. You also moved into strip till about 8 or 9 years ago. Talk about that and what brought you to strip till.
We've been slowly evolving in our journey. The no-till started with the soybeans, start on the easy side and just slowly evolving. And the reason for that is back to our soils, the rolling hills. I think that the folks that have had the easiest transition into no-till and strip till are the ones that have those rolling hills are the canary and the coal mine. You see that the soil degradation, the tops of those hills browning off. They're just turning into sand because all the good topsoil's getting to the bottom of the hills. And when growing up, you just saw that all the time when you're out plowing, and it just killed you. The more I learned from some of the great leaders we have in this province, some of our great extension folk learned that it's not necessarily the winds or the water erosion, that the tillage erosion is actually what was hurting me more than anything else. And so that was the premise to get into no-till to begin with, trying to reduce the number of passes of tillage equipment over the ground. So we started no-tilling soybeans. And of course our winter wheat, although years ago we didn't have the acres to grow a lot of winter wheat. We have to grow alfalfa to feed the cows, which of course is another thing that ace up the sleeve in soil health, to be honest with you. It makes it pretty easy.
So tell me about strip till. What have you learned? What's your experience been like?
So we started with strip till, hired in a neighbor who had a strip till rig to give us a try on that, and liked what we saw. Immediately, obviously, the first benefit, the immediate benefit, we're coming out of alfalfa, going into corn, and I didn't have to pick near as many stones. And honestly, we like to do a good job picking stones, especially when we go into alfalfa, because we're cutting low to the ground. It saved a tremendous amount of time there. And then we grew a great crop of corn. So we started doing a bit more with it. A few years later, bought my own rig. And what I like about it is the fertilizer efficiency of banding fertilizer in a band. It gives me some flexibility in the spring, keeps me a planter a little faster going through the field. And then, we look at our erosion is vastly changed. I've got fields that, over the knolls, we just wouldn't be able to grow corn on those knolls. They'd just be short little plants, nothing like what we see behind us here, and there'd be nothing there. Well, now after being no-till for 8 years, we're seeing we can get a crop off those hills.
Awesome.
It's the payback that we're seeing.
So you're not satisfied with that. You're always looking to learn more about strip till. You're doing some trials this year, especially with fertility, and comparing it to conventional. Tell us about what you're up to.
One of the challenges is in no-till and strip till, and this year, 2021, we certainly see it. June comes, and we were so dry in after planting and on into June. The conventional gets up out of the ground and it's uniform, it's looking great, and our no-till, it's not maybe quite as nice, and the strip-till corn, just not up out of the ground as fast. So this field here, we had a reason to till half of it. It needed some leveling. It was a piece that it needed some work. And the other half was still great, so we didn't touch it at all last fall. So Aaron Stavanis from Mosaic approached me through the winter, and just having some conversations like you and I are today, and about soil health, and Aaron wondered about doing a trial on this piece of ground that we've done some tillage on, and we're still strip tilling a lot of it. So what we're doing here is trying to see, I want to prove to myself that I'm still on the right path. Right. Definitely on some of those challenging rolly hills, I'm pretty confident that even though come June, I look across the field and I look at the neighbors and maybe their corn just looks a little better. When we get to harvest, we're going to have more bushels, right, or just as many, because of those knolls are going to make up for any shortcomings that there might be in some of the low, really fertile ground. Here we are on a flat piece of ground. So question, are we still seeing those gains? Are we still as good as conventional till in a flat piece of ground? So what we did is we went through and prepared the tilled ground, and then strip tilled the no-till side, and then what we did is we went and strip tilled the cultivated piece as well, so that we had the fertility is similar. They're both banded fertility, so it's not like we're broadcast on one and banded on the other. They both got treated the same, other than that tillage pass. Right. So that was the premise of the big, this side to that side. Then Aaron wanted to come through and look at some, little different fertilizer mixes. Throw on some more micros, as their products that have boron in them, as well as zinc and sulfur. So some of those little more creative fertilizer mixes, and see what effect that has. And then to top it all off, we're doing some testing, soil samples between the two fields, between different treatments, and then analyzing that to see if we're actually seeing a difference in soil health through the lab between the two sides of the field, and then baselining that all to a fence line that has never been tilled, as to what the soil sample looks like there. So it's interesting. There's a lot of aspects to it. I'm glad I'm working with someone else who's going to do all the analyzing for me.
So Adam, some great research. What are those results going to bring to this farm and your soil health strategy?
Well, I guess when we look at the reason why we're doing this is to convince ourselves that we're on the right path. Because what the other benefits we've seen, I've talked about the hills and the knolls in those fields further south. We get a piece like this that's flat ground, and one thing we've seen over the years is the resiliency it has to moisture. Not opening the ground. If it's a dry year like we started with this spring, it just holds that moisture a little better. And we've seen some tremendous rain events. Thankfully, ourselves not this year yet, but pounding rain that will move a lot of soil, and phosphorus for that matter. Some of the concerning things we've seen with phosphorus movement, but the strip tilled ground just stays where it is a little better, a lot better, and we still get good infiltration because those worm channels are still there. So you get good infiltration, fast infiltration, and some resiliency there. So that's one of the reasons why I want to prove that we're on the right path for these other fields that are different than the ones, the rolling hills.
And that's an interesting point, Adam. You mentioned before we started here that it's important to know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
Absolutely. This is not a linear path that we're on. We snake one way, we snake the other. We've tried a bunch of different things. I wouldn't say that my operation is cutting edge. I really respect the operations in the province and in North America that are started on the bleeding edge, that really do a lot of trial and error, and they share their information. And I try and keep my ear to the ground and listen to what other folks are doing, and pick a bit of information, and I might not try it for a year or two, and then I'd say, we're not even cutting edge. We're a little behind that, but I want to try some different things and see how it works on my ground. And we're going to have failures. We're going to have things that aren't working, and we take a piece from that and we try and integrate and we try and shift around and try some new things. So one thing that I would say we've got something figured out on is cover crops. You know, we've got some real wins. After wheat, it's easy. You know, we know that what we can do in wheat. Soybeans, yeah, you get them off good and early. We can get some grasses, some oats or whatever, some wheat if we're putting wheat in, we get that established. Corn is another challenge. Last year we had an early harvest. We came in, we drilled cereal rye in the corn stubble, and it was excellent. Cereal rye is my favorite cover crop, but it is a challenge to get it established in corn because our harvest is so late. So that's something I want to work on, is trying to do a better job of cover crops in corn.
Yeah, and one final note, you've been working on that with a lot of people in the Ontario Soil Network, right? In that group. Just a thought on, you know, you being in the first class in 2017 and what you've learned from that group.
So the Ontario Soil Network, yeah, the first class was 2017. Didn't really know what we were getting into, but it was intriguing. So I threw my name in the hat and got put in with just a tremendous group of people. The one thing I did not expect is that they were going to pull people from the organic side, from the regenerative ag side. So just a whole diverse group of people in the room, and we could all learn from each other. One of the real mind shifts that I've had over the years, we're not organic, and I was almost anti-organic for a number of years, and it's to the tillage side of things, because organic traditionally has been heavy tillage, and it just doesn't suit me for my land. But there's a lot to learn. We try and pay attention to what the organic growers are doing, because they have so many challenges and they have to work harder than we do, to be completely honest. And that's a mind shift from early years. I honestly, organic was, I just thought they were nuts. And the whole movement was not where I wanted to be. But I'm moving more and more that way. I don't know, maybe someday I might even be an organic grower.
I don't know. We'll wait and see. Hey, great insights. Great to be here with you, Adam. Appreciate you taking the time. We'll stop by and see you again.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Bernard.